So of all we'll say the fitness industry, of all the things you've done, created, bought, sold, traded, what are you most proud of?
Huh. Honestly, it
A
wouldn't
product, a brand.
well, I think when you create a category, like I think Extend was probably my first.
And that was just an amino acid, right?
It was intra
Branch
workout.
chain?
See, the thing is, like, you're old enough to remember when amino acid tablets were this thick.
Yeah.
You used to swallow them, like 20 of them during training.
Yeah.
So essentially, the data we had when we started was on wrestlers. Like that was the anti-catabolic data. And we actually funded a study that never got published. It was a poster presentation at ISSN showing that, and this is why people say branch chains don't work. I always point to this study. I wish we would have published it, but I sold the company before it could get published. And it was done in 2009. And essentially, so you had three groups. You had the control group. You had a whey protein group, which we're using our own whey protein. So either way, it's not bad news if it wins or loses. Like someone's going to win.
Right.
Then you had the branch chain group. So what's fascinating, people still say branch chains don't work. And I'm like, how do we explain these results? And people are like, well, they were wrong. I'm like, no, well, if you don't think they're wrong, I wouldn't still be promoting it because I sell branch chains, but not enough for me to lie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm making money on protein bars and protein powder right now, right? So the control group, which was Gatorade. So all the calories were equal and there were 36 subjects, 12 in each group. So the Gatorade was the control group. They drank it during training. They lost 0 pounds and they gained 1 pound of lean mass. And these are all on controlled diets based on their body weight. They're on the same diet. And adherence, since it was only 36, was pretty high. Then you had the whey protein group during training, which they used Scivation whey, which is gone now. So these, again, accounted for grams and calories. They gained 4 pounds of lean mass, lost 2 pounds of fat. The Extend group gained 9 pounds of lean mass and lost 4.5 pounds of fat. And we also, this study, I wanted to make it hater-proof. So it was done in conjunction with two groups, the Weider Research Group and the College of Charleston with Dr. Timothy Sheet and Dr. Jim Stepani before he had his own brand. So it was done with two groups working independently of each other. So I eliminated all variables that would make it a study that, so when people say branch chains during workout don't work, this was people, also they say it only works from dieting. These guys were on a hypercaloric diet. They were eating more calories than they needed. They were bulking,
right,
and they were still losing fat. And again, it was a blinded study done by two independent groups. So if it was cheated on, they did it without me.
Right.
Which, again, my directive was wherever it falls, it falls.
Right.
And in a blinded study, Jim and I were really good friends back then. Like we used to talk all the time. We didn't talk for 18 weeks to make sure that study was, and then he called me up, he's like, the results are in. He's like, holy fuck, I did not expect this. And that's why to this day, I'm like, drink branch chains during training. Well, BCA versus EAA, I don't give a fuck. EAA has BCA in it. I don't care. Don't even buy my brand. But they're so cheap now. Like back in the day, they were expensive.
Yeah.
But it's like less than $1 a workout. Like based on the data I see, don't even buy mine if you trust the brand. But if I'm going to give anyone advice based on take creatine, okay, take your health supplements. I like Nectar. I make it a good multi. Cover your bases. And if you're on juice, take some liver support, right? Take branch chains.
Absolutely.
And even if you don't buy mine, I saw the data. I was the guy. No one believes me. Everybody's like, you're a liar. I'm like, why would I? Like we're talking about, why would Ronnie lie at this point? You know what I mean? Why would? Okay, you can basically show he's a genetic freak, I guess. But for me, I have no reason to lie.
And it's crazy. Like you watch you've seen way more trends than I have. But at one time, BCAAs was the biggest, aside from protein. And then it's like protein kind of dies off, and then casein. We're gonna take casein. And then, but I'm saying it's branch chains, but now it's almost like if you're not doing EAAs, like we don't even mess with BCAAs anymore. You know what I'm saying?
And which is great because BCAA are 3 of the EAAs.
Right.
33% of EAAs. So I'm like, the problem with that is that we know there's a defined ratio of BCAA in the literature. It's 2 to 1 to 1 leucine, isoleucine daily. So the only data we have now, in all my I'm relaunching my BCA and Hydroglyph, our new product from Ambrosia. We throw EAA in there. So there's one product, it's called Amino 9. It's from Compound Solutions. It's the only one with data to back it. but the data sucks. And I'm honest with that in my marketing. The data is on literally elderly people with sarcopenia. It's not a healthy body.
Right.
So the only data I've seen that's credible on aminos is going to be the data that I was a part of, and there were a couple other studies showing it doesn't work. But the study that I had control of, or I funded,
right,
I know that's real. EAA, my thing is, cool. Put your EAA in there, because we don't know what ratio to use if you want to cover your bases, but make sure you still have a good dose of 2-to-1 to 1 BCAA.
Yeah.
That's my only advice. So that's why in the new machine fuel, which I think we're dropping in June, we sell out of the stuff we have, it's going to have amino 9. It's going to have BCAA. In hydroglyph from Ambrosia, again, we did amino 9 and BCAA. My thing is, you can't go wrong. Like, okay, cool. They work. Great. It's not going to hinder it. So I'm like, cool. We know there's data on BCAA. The EAA, worst case scenario, it does very little.
Let me ask you this. You drink, how many of those do you drink a day? 4?
Yeah, probably about 4 to 5.
You know, I know people that put BCAAs in that.
So I have, right now I have hydroglyph from hydroglyph in here, which is from Ambrosia.
Uh-huh.
It's a fasting formula, so there's HMB in it. There's velocitol, which increases, doubles the power of your protein, basically increases your MPS by 2 times for 8 hours. So I put about 2 scoops in one of these and I rock with it because I'm getting the HMB, and I miss meals because you know how it is. Like when you're busy, you have a job. As much as I'm a pro and you know I like to be serious about it, I'm more serious about paying my bills. So if I'm caught in a meeting, I'm gonna be like, hold on guys, gotta go get meal 3. I'm not Rich Pianaing it right now,
right.
You know. So I keep that in there. I keep aminos flowing. For me, I've been doing it since 2004, 2005. It's always been what I do, and it's like, well, BCAA have calories. I'm like, well, if you're drinking it every day, that becomes your baseline.
Well, you just said you're missing meals, and I'm not. The whole goal here is not missing meals, but I'm saying the calories, and you miss a meal, which I'm sure you'll make it up somehow.
My metabolism,
exactly,
my activity, the work, like eating too much isn't a problem, but no one's ever gotten fat from sipping branch cheese.
No, and that's not where I was trying to go with that. I was just trying to.
Oh, I was agreeing, yeah.
I wanted to know your thought process on drinking it all day, and some people are like, "Well, that's just expensive pee. You're just peeing it out."
Okay, it might be.
Right.
The data I have shows that during training is the best, but there's also people who feel that it doesn't break a fast. So if you're into the fasting lifestyle and you're training, especially during a fast, if you're training during a fast, I don't think anybody should train fasting.
No.
I'm one of those like people like, I like waking up and training fast, and I'm like, I don't care what the data says, I just can't see you crushing a workout without any nutrients in your system. I just can't see that. And I know some people enjoy having the empty stomach, and I've never been able to truly get a good workout fasted. I've tried it. It's just terrible.
No, it's totally different. And I think anything that you adjust to, you can get adjusted to.
Yeah.
But if the goal is to go, like there's all different goals. If the goal is just to go crush a workout, not like retain muscle, build muscle, then whatever. Like if you want to go run 10 miles fasted, that's on you. That's cool. Like, and there's a little bit of a, there's a great feeling when you finish fasted cardio. From that, when you get done doing cardio, that drive home, I feel like is like, you're almost untouchable, that feeling. But, that as soon as you start eating, I feel like your blood sugar spikes, and then you're kind of like, oh, I want to take a nap.
Yeah, I think fasting has its benefits. I think it depends on body fat. When I'm fatter, fasting's great.
Yeah,
my stomach's fasting. When you're lean and you don't eat for a little bit, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, right now, if I miss a meal, I know. Like right now, there's no missing meals.
And you're in prep right now?
Yeah, I got 6.5 weeks.
And Toronto. What made you want to do a show?
I got to use the damn pro card, man.
Yeah.
I got to. And honestly, like, I'm saying that like I'm not going to win. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to win. But I think I might surprise everybody, including myself, on where I'll place, because conditioning's the equalizer, and that's all I have.
Yeah.
These guys are 230-pound guys who suck down to 212.
Yeah.
I'm a 209-pound guy who pushes up to 212.
And walks around like that all the time.
Yeah, so I don't change. So, this one guy's like, oh, you're on tons of gear because you're going to get ready for a show. I'm like, I'm going to look about 2% better. Like, there's nothing, I'm not going to shock you. Like, you're not going to see me on stage, be like, wow, the only difference will be the color.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty much the same guy.
Well, when I saw you the other day, I mean, I feel like you're lean year round.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I can look at someone like I can look at you right now, and there's things that I notice, like you're that 2% better than I can notice that, even if it's just in a shirt versus where I normally see you.
Yeah, and it's 2%, but you see some guys in every prep, you're like, what the hell? One guy who looks great year round is Kareth. Like he's got Caucasian skin.
Yeah.
On a black guy.
Right.
He's got Caucasian dryness. I'm like, that's why I'm kind of glad I'm not doing New York. I don't want to stand next to that guy.
Right.
I do.
You can't lose in business either, though. I mean,
No, he just looks so. These guys are so the 212.
Oh, I get it, dude.
I remember they were talking about like, oh, they should get rid of it. I'm like, you had the top 2 Olympia guys. They're 212 guys.
Yeah.
Like 212 is competitive as hell now.
Absolutely.
They're all 3 feet tall. I'm a tall guy at 212. You know, it's like it's just gotten so competitive, and they bring conditioning way better than it seems like. More than open, because they have to suck down.
Right.
They're not. You can't play the size game unless you're Sean Clarita.
Yeah, unless you're 2 foot tall.
Which is Sean Clarita?
Yeah.
Isn't he 4'10" or?
He's short.
Yeah.
And I'm not tall, but he's short to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking back in 2015. We did some training stuff together.
Yeah.
He looks nothing like that.
Oh, he was probably 150 pounds in 2015.
Yeah. I mean, he's completely morphed into something. I don't even know what it is.
I enjoy the fact that like you have guys like him that still put on a show for up against like standing next to Rami. You're talking about getting chill bumps. How do you think he felt? And that's one other thing I wanted to touch on with you. I mean, bodybuilding. What year did you go to the gym where you're like, I'm going to get big? Because I know it's kind of changed your mindset, and my mindset's changed from that point when Ronnie was winning Olympias to where you are now when you go to the gym.
1993, I was playing football. I bought my first Flex magazine, and Dorian was on the cover.
Yeah.
And I saw, it was weird. That's when, as I look back, now I know why bodybuilding was for me, because I didn't really care about it. I saw his hamstrings. And Dorian had on that cover, it was his iconic side pose.
Yeah.
His hamstrings. And he had these knots and things on his hamstrings. And I'm like, I want that.
Yeah.
Like, and there was like, I remember that time there was Muscle Mag, Muscle Fitness. And Muscle Fitness had like some, I think it was like Christian Boving. And then you had Mike O'Hearn, who was 52 years old in 1993.
A natural?
Yeah. but you had all these guys. And I remember I'm like, that's nice. But I wanted to play football, so I wanted to put on size.
Right.
So instead of going to like, I'm going to do athletic training like I do, like people do now, they're like, I'm going to look at this muscle magazine. So I went to 7-Eleven on La Tierra and Centinela in Inglewood, California. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, who do I want to be? And I'm like, oh, dude. And Dorian was just like, holy shit. This is possible? The human body can do this?
Right.
And I was fat. So I'm like, I want to be that guy. And obviously I kept training for size for football, but like I was doing pro workouts.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, and that was when I started liking the gym more than I liked football. And I'd actually during the season, I'm like, man, I can't wait to go train again.
Right.
Because during football, you're just doing like in-season workouts.
Yeah.
At that time, we didn't know how to train either.
Right.
Like right now, our kids are training, 3-4 days a week. Like they would train off season.
Right.
In addition to practice, because we know how to do. Back then, we didn't have that kind of knowledge.
No, right.
So you just were like during the season, you just did
Bench press and
a
squat.
couple things, and then off season, you just went. You were Dorian.
Yeah. In my opinion, and I want you to take this as a compliment. I know you will, but I've kind of watched and been a part of bodybuilding and in the industry, and I always say like, if bodybuilders would take the same mentality they have towards bodybuilding, like there was nothing I wasn't willing to do at one time to put on more muscle, be bigger, leaner, all the things. Mm-hmm. And then they apply that towards business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like think about all the guys that you've ran across that they were great bodybuilders, but you know what I'm saying? Everything else was just kind of like,
It's really hard to not compartmentalize because you only have so much mind share. And so they put everything into bodybuilding. But if you look at who's really done well in bodybuilding, they're not really, other than Jay, you know, obviously Sean Ray was the first one to really show people you can make money doing this, right? And that's why I was talking, like, Sean Ray, I think, is the most missing. We need everybody in bodybuilding, instead of hating on him, these new guys, need to realize Sean Ray was making this industry great long before they were even picking up weights.
Right.
Like Sean Ray, Jay Cutler obviously parlayed his investments into it. You look at what these guys did, and Bob Ciccarello, horrible bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Blocky, you know, like me, had to wait till he was 50 years old to get a pro card. You know, it's, you look at these guys who made money doing it, they were able to parlay it into it. But then you look at Branch Warren, who owned a company, Mark Dugdale, who ran his parent, he actually took over his parents' produce. So when Dugdale was done, Dugdale just left. Like, he left pretty much at his peak. I think he came back to like 202 when it came back. But Dugdale was moving up, a smaller, you know, grainy, like good shape. And then he's like, I got to go run my business.
Yeah.
And then he came back, did a 202 show, and then he's gone. People are like, oh man, he fell off. I'm like, no, he got rich.
He checked out.
Like, Dugdale's making cash.
Yeah.
So he was able to enjoy the sport, take that mindset. I remember we did an article back when I was at Weider, this is in the early 2000s. And he was like running his business. Then he'd go to like, he trained at like 24-hour fitness. And he like, after work, with his family, drop his kids off at child care. I'm like, this guy's competing with the best in the world. That's who, everybody should want to be Mark Dugdale.
Yeah.
Because Dugdale doesn't have to worry about what to do when he's 40 years old and he can't win titles anymore.
Right.
A lot of these cats, they'll win a show, and they'll be like, I need new rims on my car. Or I'm going to go do this. I'm going to buy this. Instead of investing, paying off debt. And that's really how you need to look at life in general. Like, you know, like as people with businesses, we can work well into our 70s, our 80s, God willing, our 90s.
Right.
And enjoy every second of it. When you're a bodybuilder, a football player, you know, Sheamus, you know, a professional wrestler, you have a shelf life.
Right.
Your body can only do that so long. The average running back is in the league for 2 years. Okay, so what do you do after you made 10 million? That goes quick.
That goes quick.
Or you could live like a king for the rest of your life.
That's right.
So a lot of these people, you go to college and they teach you trigonometry and they teach you physics, but they don't teach you how to budget. They don't teach you how to live debt free. They don't teach you how to make $1 million turn into $3 million without doing any work. We're just making smart investments.
Right.
They don't teach you how to make your money work. They don't teach you how to utilize tax credit. They don't teach you any of this stuff. So you get out there, these kids get their first paycheck, or these bodybuilders win their first show, and they go and do something stupid because they need to look good on social. Oh, I won the New York Pro. Look at my new Bentley.
Yeah.
Dude, the New York Pro, you won like 20 grand. How the fuck did you buy a Bentley?
Right.
Like, so.
Well, and then you got to pay taxes on that 20 grand.
Oh yeah. So you're not really making 20 grand. And if you're at the top tax bracket, that's 37%.
Right.
So
Hey, they're not at the top tax bracket.
I'm sorry.
But anyways,
I saw that. I'm like, shit, can I pay like my kids? And there is a way. So just to let you guys know who own businesses, you could pay your kids $12,000 a year tax free.
Yep.
My kids are working, but you have to keep
you got 3 employees.
Yeah, my 10-year-old's making bank. Well, they already have, but the thing is, we're smart with it. Like, we're not like, hey kids, here's 12 grand, go snort cocaine.
Right.
You know, we're like, hey, it's in a Roth IRA.
Right.
It's in a 529 account. It's doing what it needs to do. So a lot of times we get caught up. It's different than when we were kids because competing with the Joneses, what we used to call it. I don't know if you called it that in the country, but that was the thing. So like competing with the Joneses, you compete with the neighbors. Now you're competing with everybody. So your Instagram posts need to be more and more outlandish, posing with a car, you know, going to these ultra lavish restaurants and documenting it, you know, and that's cool, but just realize that there's no worse investment than a car usually.
100%.
Usually, unless you're like my brother-in-law who fixes cars and somehow he buys them to make, I don't know how to do that, but you know, you go buy a car from a lot, like it's 50% is done, right? You can drive it off.
Yep.
But you know, a lot of these guys, you know, they either come from something and they're used to having it, or if you come from nothing, it's really cool to have it.
Absolutely.
But you need to look at what's your best long term. So if you're able to stock that money away, you're able to retired.
That's
Able to have it. It was Chad Ochocinco.
Yep.
Did you hear about that guy?
Oh, I've things like that just enamor me. So yes, I've heard the
The
stories.
fake chains.
Yeah.
I think he kept 90% of the money he made in the NFL. He still has. He flew on Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
And wore fake chains.
My favorite part about all of that is we're talking about Chad Johnson. He played for the Cincinnati Bengals, wide receiver. And you know what I like about him is like he made an like an alter ego that he got to basically market. But he said that his first 2, maybe 3 years in the league, he lived at basically the field house.
Yeah.
He was like, it was plush. They had all the video games, all the food, the couches were, top notch.
Yeah.
And he said that I didn't have to buy a house until they kicked me out. They were basically like, hey dude,
What are you doing here?
we've caught on to what you're doing. Because like you get that first, I don't know, $10 million signing bonus. What do you think? You know what they're all going to buy.
Well, I mean, it's because I come from the inner city.
Right.
And it's really cool to have things. Like I knew a guy once who bought 1 rim at a time till he had 4. Took him like a year. And I'm like, and it's just, but that was before social media.
Yeah.
Like the amount of debt, we were just talking earlier, the 40-year mortgage.
Yeah.
The amount of debt people get in to live this lifestyle and the more, what's funny is for me, and again, I'm not flexing on money and this and that. I mean, the only thing I paid for on my body are my shoes, my socks, my underpants, right? Like I make my own shirts. I own my own clothing company. I own a clothing manufacturing business.
Right.
So if I want a shirt, I just make it. I can have it next day.
Make America healthy again.
Yeah, this is.
I just noticed that.
Yeah,
I
I
like
did that
that.
for our new greens product, and we have one. My favorite one. Sorry to digress. Is we have one for Mother's Day. It's an I Love Hot Mom shirt. Really proud of that one with the M in the heart.
Yeah.
That one's gonna be fire. But I think that the more money I make, and I say that in a very as humble as I can't think of any way to put it, or the more success I have, the more simple I become.
That's right.
Like, I have a grocery getter. I have a big car that I don't need, but I'm gonna drive that thing till the wheels fall.
Well, you have 3 kids.
Yeah.
You can't put all those in a Prius.
And I'm constantly putting equipment in there, putting whatever.
Yeah.
Tripods so I can film I'm the VO guy for the kids. VO's the one that follows the game. I film all my kids' soccer games. Like for example, we sold Ambrosia. I bought one thing, a VO camera.
Yeah.
So I could film all my kids' soccer games and football games. So that was it. I didn't buy a car. I paid down my debt and I bought a VO camera.
What was the worst investment you ever made? And I don't mean like.
Marriage.
No, I know better than that. You guys have been married how many years?
21.
21 years.
21
I see her all the time with you too, so I know y'all have a great relationship.
Yeah, we're great. She's she was like I was going down the wrong, but God does things, right? God puts people in your life. And when I was 16 years old, I literally got into a really bad gang fight. I was in a gang. I was in a really bad fight. It didn't end well for the other guy. Thankfully, I might not be here right now.
Right.
And the next weekend, my wife, we were on AOL Instant Messenger on a dial-up modem, so it took me like 20 minutes to get the message. And she asked me out. She's like, hey, aren't you the football player? She was the captain of the cheerleading team. I was the captain of the football team.
Okay.
So we knew who we were, but we didn't really cross paths.
Right.
So, yeah, basically the worst investment.
I just mean like we talk about cars and rims and things like that. I don't mean like investment as far as in business wise.
Yeah, business, you're going to make mistakes.
But you learn from those.
Yeah, I've made business mistakes, and I wouldn't even mention the worst one I've made because that would probably make somebody mad.
What's the dumbest thing that you've bought with the success that you've acquired? And then been like, damn, I got rid of it or just never did it again.
Honestly, at the time I bought a used Ford Explorer that ended up being a lemon. That wasn't my fault. It was actually it was used. Honestly, can't think of one. I don't think I've ever bought anything. I mean, because even the houses we bought, like the one we bought in North Carolina was, just full divulgence. Like it was like a $320,000 house. My house in Elgin Illinois was a $405,000 house. Not extravagant at all. And our latest house was over $1 million, but it's over doubled in value because Brentwood's gone crazy.
Right.
I can't. I can't think of a bad investment I've made that has like put it like over $1,000, right? Like I could say maybe I didn't like these shoes,
Right.
but I've never made a big ticket investment because everything I buy, I run by my wife, and we have checks and balances. Like I never understood separate finances for married people. I have friends who do it, and God bless them. I'm not by any means shaming them or saying, I just don't understand it.
Right.
When you get married, you become one.
Right.
Like you become, you literally, if you look at marriage from like a historical standpoint, that's why the dad walks the daughter down the aisle. You're basically giving, she's from our family. She's yours now. Like,
right.
Good luck, you know? So once you get married, like we've always had joint finances, and I honestly can't think of a dumb investment. We haven't had a car payment since 2017. We've always lived well. We've never had a credit card debt. I mean, we use credit cards for the points. I know Dave Ramsey's against that, but because he deals with the lowest common denominator.
Right.
Where people don't, like when I use a credit card, it's cash to me.
Right.
I'm like, okay, that's $100, and I write it down. Like where people like they just start swiping and they don't realize it, but the physical act of giving cash, I understand. But for us, like I've made. Well, Discover's only 3%. No one's ever got rich off that. Yeah, but if you're rich, an extra 3%, and I'm gonna spend $1,000 anyway. I'll take
300. Yeah.
I'll take that. $30. That pays for kava.
Yeah.
I have a kava addiction.
You know what? You bring up Dave Ramsey. I come from like just straight blue collar. You know, like the family's living on 50 grand a year type thing, and that's before taxes. And so I hate when people knock Dave because Dave has niched himself as he's a specialist in the blue collar.
Yes.
You know, like I hate when the upper tax bracket knocks Dave Ramsey because he's taking the people that will never. That's generational blue collar at its finest. Like, and you'll stay that way if you don't think what he's saying is right.
Yeah.
And then you just whatever. But all I'm saying is I hear so many people knock him, and it's most of the time it's the people that are more well off than they should be, but. And all they're doing is just taking what he's saying out of context. Like, don't use credit cards. Well, man, credit cards can make you rich, or you can leverage your debt and this and that. And I'm like, to the people that he's going for, they can't leverage nothing. They don't have anything. But anyways, I'm glad that you brought that up.
The problem is that it's different when you're leveraging debt and you make 100 grand a year versus making 600 grand a year.
Right.
And even then, I know a lot of people make 600 grand a year who live paycheck to paycheck.
100%.
At the end of the day, I like a good balance, but I think personally, there's no bracket where the Dave Ramsey approach doesn't make sense.
I agree.
Because I use other than the credit cards, don't get into debt. That's a pretty simple thing because debt is automatically taking money from your pocket. Well, you can make 3%. I'm paying this off. Okay, whatever. The mortgage rates are up to 8%. Whatever. You make 3%, but like you can invest in something that's 10%. I'm like, oh really? Is there any proven like 100%, 10% return? I'll take a 3% guaranteed return versus a 10%. You might lose your ass return.
Right.
So everybody thinks they have it, but everybody saying that is trying to sell you something. They're mortgage brokers or they're wannabe influencers. Like nobody who's actually saved money and who's actually generated wealth, and the thing is, how do you take someone who makes $60,000 a year and make them a millionaire? Because certain skill levels don't warrant a $600,000 a year investment, and not everybody can start their own business. And even if you do, when you start your own business, you only have a 6% chance of actually having that business succeed. So I ask everybody, how do you take someone and make it where they can retire? And it's pretty simple. You invest in pretty certain return 401ks, which are 10 to 15% over a lifetime. It's not certain, it'll go up and down, but over the course of a lifetime, you're looking at 10%, right? And you stay out of debt, which means that if shit falls through, you own a $300,000 house, you're sitting on $300,000, you sell it, you buy a $100,000 house, you got $200,000 to use. So it's just a safer way to live. It's stress-free too. We know that if shit hits the fan, that I can always downsize, sell my house, and I don't have to work.
Right.
Even if, let's take all the businesses away, based on just my house, just that investment, I can sell it and live for probably 20 years. That's nuts. Obviously, I won't be living the lifestyle I'm living now.
Right.
We'll make it work.
Yeah.
They did much more during the Great Depression.
I know it.
Like, and that's the thing you talk about. America's the worst it's ever been. I'm like, dude, we literally had people standing in bread lines in the 30s. In the 40s, we threw all yellow people into camps. America's pretty damn good right now. Let's not get started on slavery.
Right.
America's awesome. It's still a land of opportunity. And if you don't like where you live, there's 49 other states that have something for you.
Right.
Each state is its own sovereign country. I wanted a state that didn't have state tax. It's Tennessee.
Yeah.
I want a state that had this beautiful view. Tennessee.
Yeah.
I want a state where I can carry a gun. Tennessee. Some people like the opposite. New York.
Yeah.
California. Now Washington State. Oregon. You can have your areas.
Absolutely.
So, life is what you make of it. Well, I can't afford to move. I'm like, hey, kid, I moved when I was broke. You have to do it. You just have to take that risk.
Live below your means.
That's another thing. Why can't you move?
Yeah.
Because you live above your means. Like, well, I've worked the same job. Okay, and you weren't able to save. You know you're making 50 grand a year.
But whose problem is it that you work the same job?
Yeah, not my fault.
Exactly.
And also, this is something, dude, people hate when I say this. If you're working one job and complaining about how much you make, you suck. Because right now, I could take my phone, put an app on it, and get to work right now delivering Grubhub. Make an extra $100 an hour, make an extra $50 an hour, make an extra $30 an hour.
Yep.
Drive Uber. Like, there's more opportunities to make money than ever. If you get home from work at 5:30 and you're playing video games, you've lost the plot. Like, you've lost the plot. If I wasn't so busy, I'd drive. I'd be like, cool, here's your meal.
Yeah.
I'll go pick up some meals, drop them off, make a few bucks per meal. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But again, people are lazy. Everybody, and then you start a business. Like, I work for myself.
Yeah, that's not.
There's no working for yourself. You work for your customers. You work for Uncle Sam because they're taking 30+% of it.
Yeah.
You're working.
Always. You're
always working for somebody. You're never working for yourself.
Yeah, that's. I watched another interview that you did with Marc Bell, and what's the black guy's name?
Oh, and Sema.
Yeah. And you guys hit on a lot of that, and that's something I wanted to talk about is because I mean things like that, a lot of people, that stuff doesn't even click in their head, man.
I mean, it's irresponsible what you see on social media, but I think that people are more interested in followers and clout than they are about helping people. I don't think anyone on social media thinks that a Lambo is a good investment. I don't think there's one person that's like, that's a great investment.
But I don't think people think of it as an investment. They're like,
No.
I think in their mind, they don't think of it as a status symbol, but.
Yeah, how can you call yourself a businessman? Like Mark Zuckerberg, like him or hate him, he's kind of a communist, right? But Mark Zuckerberg, he drove a $50,000, I think, Lexus SUV up until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett drove the same $72,000, I think it was 2009 Cadillac, until his daughter's like, you're embarrassing me. Can you get a new car? So he bought another car. This guy's worth more money than Moses himself.
Right.
This guy buys another $70,000 Cadillac.
Yeah. And he'll drive it till he dies.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
The money guy. So wait, and then you look at Bill Gates, who's obviously evil. Bill Gates dresses in the crappy sweater vest, and he literally other than his house, like his car is very modest.
Yeah.
Like Ryan DeLuca, who owned bodybuilding.com, even when the company was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, he drove the same small $45,000 Lexus SUV every time I visited him. All the rich people I know, they're not concerned with how they look because they have that. When you have those things,
Peace of mind.
you're compensating usually.
Right.
Now, there are some, look, man, I mean, I know a lot of rich people who like cool things.
Yeah.
Like, if I like cars, I know rich people who have Ferraris and don't really take them out because I just kind of feel weird.
Right.
So again, I'm not saying that all rich people don't need nice things.
Right.
I'm just saying that you don't need to flaunt
Right.
those things to get respect of people. If you want to get people to respect you, do nice things. Help people. Sure, you might get more likes like, bro, you made it. No, you didn't. You have a car. I could finance.
But the person that's going to say that's not who you're. You know what I mean? The person that's saying, bro, you made it because of the car that you pull up in. They're the ones that can't wait till they can get a Lamborghini.
Yes. My goal is to give people tools to help make them better. Whether that's fitness, whether that's business, whether that's family. You know, that's where I can go. Could I get more followers if I posted a picture of me next to if I bought a car? Maybe. I don't know. I've never tried it.
Right.
But at the end of it, it's just not me. And I like cars. And you just don't like cars. Like everybody with a penis likes cars. Even girls with penises like cars. So,
is that a thing now?
Yes, it's a thing.
Okay.
It's a thing. Not here, but so if you have a penis, you like cars. It is what it is. I love cars. I love them. I'm like, I went to the auto show in Columbus with my kids. I'm like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the guy recognized me. He's like, dude, your kids can sit in there. My kids were like, oh my God, and they have penises. And they're like, this is great. And
your daughter, does she?
No. As far as I know, I haven't checked. I haven't changed her diaper in a while. And I'm not Joe Biden, so I'm not showering.
I'm kidding, man.
You got the Biden joke?
Yeah. That's funny.
I can't let the diary get out.
Right.
But, dude, I'm not even getting on that topic.
There's a man going around taking names